Fellow Ambazonians, permit me to make a series of audios to help educate the struggle. Before I begin, let me ask you a question. I grew up in the village, deep inside the village. I saw the rainy season come. I saw the dry season come. We did many things in the rainy season and in the dry season. But let me ask us, who destroys his house in the middle of the rainy season because it has some leaks? Who does that? And those who are bent on destroying the IG, I want to ask you, who destroys his house in the middle of the rainy season just because it has some leaks? I saw it when I was growing up, that my father, my uncle, my neighbor, they would rather look for ways and means to cover the leakages, because if they destroy the house in the middle of the rain, the calamity they would suffer will be more than the leaks they can repair and handle. Who goes on beast mode to destroy his house in the middle of the rainy season with tornadoes and flood because he found some leaks there? That's just the wisdom I got from the village. It doesn't make sense. Some people have questioned why I should replace my vice president. You heard it well, my vice president. The vice president in most constitutions, I think in virtually all constitutions, has no terms of reference. You know why? Because except in a situation where there is probably a government of national unity or something, under normal circumstances, the vice president has no terms of reference. He does whatever is given to him by the president. He is assisting the president. So he handles whatever responsibilities are given to him by the president. He's his number one assistant. So nobody, no president, no leader, we want to have a vice president who says, you know my stand in this, so I can't do it. These people from this local government have won elections, put them in the forum. They said, Mr. President, you know my stand in this, and I'm not going to do it. This is what is happening in Fako. We have to go in this direction. You say, you know my stand in this, so I'm not there. So the question is, you're no longer assisting the man. The logical thing every vice president does at that point, you're not ready to assist somebody because he's not going the way you want to go. Probably morally, ethically, you think it is wrong to do that. Therefore, you cannot serve that person as an assistant. If you feel it is ethically wrong to give somebody cigarettes to smoke, and you have been employed by somebody who is dying and must not smoke, and they add to your job description, your boss adds to your job description to give him cigarettes every morning, and that's against your own ethics. That's against your own what you think is right. You resign. That's what it is. If your job is to assist, anytime you discover that you are assisting a man and you don't want to do what he wants you to do, and he's the one to tell you what to do because you don't have your own functions, but it's the functions that he gives you that you perform, the duties that he gives you that you perform, and you don't want to perform those duties, then you in a normal system, you just resign and give your reasons. I don't want to do the things he's asking me to do because I want to do things differently, so I can't continue to assist that person.
So you resign. That's why people resign. That's why prime ministers resign. That's why vice presidents resign. Because you are bound to assist the man to do what he is doing, to pursue his vision, to carry out his assignment. Anytime you are in conflict and you think you can't continue to do those things the way he wants you to do it, you step down, you resign. You cannot insist to be his assistant and refuse to do what he asks you to do. That's one thing. So number two, nobody will keep one as his vice president who goes to a commission of inquiry with a mountain of allegations against his boss. Allegations that he could verify at least 70% of them and will not verify them or did not care to verify them. That is like stabbing somebody on the back. And do we take allegations to commissions of inquiry? Do you really take allegations? If you are invited in a commission of inquiry, do you go and tell them allegations, or you go and tell them what you know about it? Matter of fact, if you are presented an allegation with a question on an allegation by a commission of inquiry, you say, well, that's what you say. That's not what I know. I don't know about that. But when you are presenting a mountain of allegations to a commission of inquiry as your own testimony about your boss, what is your intention? And who says that you should still be the assistant to the boss? Well, if my wisdom is wrong, history will judge. Sometimes we are not right in the eyes of the witnesses. We shall be right in the eyes of those who will review the matter in latter years. About the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. That will be my next audio. Please, I want to talk about the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Fellow Ambazonians, let's have a very brief discussion on the Interim Constitution of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. The Interim Constitution of the Interim Government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. The first thing is, why do we call ourselves a government? The reason why we call ourselves the wisdom of those who decided to change the governing council to the interim government was to buttress our argument, our core argument in this struggle. And our core argument is we were an independent nation, granted independence by the United Nations, Resolution 1608, and attempted to join with another country. And instead were annexed by that country. Our government forcefully dissolved. And so, today, 60 years or so under annexation, we decided to restore our nation. And restoring our nation, we needed to restore the institutions that were forcefully dissolved by the annexationists. And that is the government of Joa. So symbolically, we cannot say we restored anything if we only found a name and a flag for that. We're restoring that government. And that's our core argument in this struggle. You cannot restore an independent nation without restoring its government that was annexed. So we are here as the interim government representing the government of Joa. That is our argument to the United Nations, to the United States, to the world, to the African Union. That's our argument. That's what the interim government stands for. But because we have not taken effective control of our territory, this is how we describe our project. Our project has two phases. Phase one is the liberation of the land. And phase two is governance. You've heard some people say liberation first, governance second. No, I agree. That is it. That's what it is. But the name government does not mean that we are in the governing phase. I have explained to you why we presented our struggle at this moment as a restored nation and as a government, with a government. But calling ourselves a government does not mean we are now in the governing phase of our project. We are in the liberation phase. So because we have two phases, we'll have to have two constitutions. The first constitution we have is the interim constitution. In reality, our liberation constitution, that's what we have now. The interim government constitution in reality at this time, from Zaria to this time, is the liberation constitution, or the constitution of our liberation. When we get to Buea, we will have the federal constitution of the Federal Republic, the constitution of the Federal Republic, because now in the liberation phase, we are not governing the country. We are governing the structures that govern the revolution or the liberation machinery. When we get to Buea, the constitution of the Federal Republic will be a constitution that governs the country, called the Federal Republic of Ambazonian. So we have two constitutions. But the way some people talk, they think we are already talking about the governing phase, the constitution we need for the governing phase. No. The constitution we need, or we have right now for this liberation phase, is deliberately restricted to the prosecution of our liberation effort. It is a document, it's a revolutionary document the founders put together to give us some guidance on how to prosecute this struggle through the liberation phase until we get to Buea. Those people who are bringing ideas of governance to amend the liberation document, the liberation document that we have, they are manipulating us, because these two phases are not the same. They cannot be guided by the same document and laws. No, they can't. And let me help us to explain to us what the constitutional foundation of a people are, maybe even in this liberation phase. The constitutional foundation begins with the Conclave 4 resolutions, then the interim constitution, then ASSC Berlin. These three documents constitute our constitutional foundation for our liberation phase. So don't tell me that because something is not clearly written in the constitution, in the what we call the interim constitution, it is not constitutional. The nation of the United Kingdom, for example, the Kingdom of United Nations, of the United Kingdom, does not have one single document you can call the Constitution of UK. There are sets of documents, legal documents that constitute that constitutional foundation for that country. And for us, these are the things that determine. These three things are the things that have defined, that constitute our constitutional foundation. The Constitution is the express will of the people on how they want to govern themselves. And in the case of Ambazonia right now, there are three documents that help to give us that guidance in this liberation phase. The interim constitution is deliberately thin because of what we have to do. It leaves very little room for changes at this time because we are not yet governing anything. We are just going to prosecute the struggle. We are only going to make sure we liberate our country. When we get it, we shall be determining whether we want the American model, the British model, and how to govern our counties, our LGAs, how to build our roads, how to constitute our legislature, how to bring representation and lower house, upper house. We do all those things when we have liberated our nation. So in our context, during this liberation phase, before you consider anything unconstitutional, it has to be completely outside or against this constitutional foundation. You cannot say draft is unconstitutional. LGAs are unconstitutional. You're trying to make an argument. No. Our constitutional foundation in this liberation phase includes the ASSC 2 or 1. Yes. Because resolutions were reached by the people. Matter of fact, in certain legal philosophies, a constituent assembly with sovereign powers makes resolutions that can even lead to that are at the level of the constitution of the nation. That's why even La Republique rejected the Sovereign National Conference, because whatever the Sovereign National Conference was going to decide was going to be above the constitution. So they refused. They wanted a national conference, but not a constitutional conference, but not a sovereign national conference. When the people come in their sovereignty and they are fully represented, their decisions are at the level of the constitution or the foundation document of the nation. Do we need some revision or some additions to what we have as a liberation document now, or a liberation constitution? Maybe, but let me remind us something. The nation of America, for 227 years, have had 11,000 proposals for amendment of their constitution. There have been 11,000 proposed amendments to the American Constitution for 227 years. Do you know how many times the American Constitution has been amended for those number of years? 27 times only. That means only 1 out of 500 proposals have gone through as an amendment to the Constitution. I say kudos to the founders who wrote that document. You know, they did not write a constitution because they were addressing a particular issue, because they wanted to remove somebody from office, because they did not like the guts of somebody. They don't want that person from that tribe. They don't want the other one is black. The other one is this. No. They were not dealing with the issues of the moment. They were laying the foundation of a nation. So they were able to look far into the future, 100, 200 years. That is why that document has remained almost entirely intact, with very few amendments to make it through. 27 amendments in 227 years. The way we are going sometimes, some people want to amend the Constitution because they want to deal with somebody. Let's amend the Constitution, let's deal with him. Let's amend the Constitution so that we can deal with that person over there in that council. We can deal with it for that president. Let's amend the Constitution because enough is enough. We want to deal with that LGA chair. Let's amend the Constitution. Really? If it were so, during Trump's administration, with the kind of agitation that were happening, America would have had about 50 more amendments. And when you amend them, and the man is no more in office, by now, you make other amendments to amend the amendments. That's disorder. The Constitution provides the foundation, the order that we need, so that those in power can go left, can go right, can rise, can fall. But let it be a sure foundation on which we can build. Not because of a character of an individual, not because of an issue with somebody, but because of the nation, because of our desire, our collective desire, our collective will to accomplish a goal. We should contemplate revision of the Constitution not as a means to fight anybody, not as a means to push anybody out. No. Not as a means to settle scores. No. When we get to that as a liberation machine, we are doomed to fail. This I am saying while in office. If I am not in this office, trust me, you will hear more of this, because this is where I started to educate the struggle. When I was advocating for the government and basically contributing to the foundation of this government, I was nowhere near its founders, but I was able to see, not as an insider with any interest, but one who understands the goal for Ambazonia at this time. There are issues we can just handle by just coming together. We talk together, we put in place as we want. But the present interim constitution contains the basic of what we need at this time to prosecute this struggle. The proposals to go wider and introduce full-blown democracy and all its institutions and all its functions in the middle of a liberation is a wild idea. It is one that considers that we are already in the governing phase. We are not in the liberation phase. It's not the best of ideas. The wisdom of those founders, the reasons why they considered a thin document is because, and make sure that it contained the essentials of what we need. That wisdom is still the same. It's still the same. So we can do separation of this, and organize ourselves without tampering with that essential position that liberation first, governance later. And those who say we should rather become a revolutionary council, because if we don't want to be called a government, are you kidding me? Have you forgotten the reason why we are a government? Why our liberation is different from that of South Sudan or Eritrea? Because we are a country that was annexed, which is now restored. So we cannot buy that argument. We adopted the name based on that logic and understanding. We are a government. To reduce us to a revolutionary council and no more a government in that argument, you actually saying that we should deny our basic argument. We cannot deny our basic argument. We have to present our basic argument in a manner, knowing but not forgetting what we are here to do at this time, liberate our country before we can govern it. God bless this beautiful nation, Ambazonia.